Wow, wow, wow. The Indiana Fever have traded NaLyssa Smith and got Sophie Cunningham in a three-way trade.
NaLyssa Smith's exit from the Indiana Fever is setting the sports world abuzz. After her move to Dallas, she made sure her parting words hit hard, stirring up plenty of debate among fans and critics alike. Meanwhile, the Fever have taken a daring leap by acquiring Sophie Cunningham, a player poised to potentially reshape the team's future. Could this trade prove to be a game-changing masterstroke, or is it just another misstep? And what implications does it have for Caitlin Clark's role moving forward, potentially paving the way for Indiana's success?
And I want to say this as respectfully as I possibly can, but I think that Indiana had to kind of pay a little to get rid of NaLyssa Smith. As sad as that sounds, and boy, did they pay a hefty price.
NaLyssa Smith's stint with the Indiana Fever has come to an explosive end. After her trade to the Dallas Wings, she didn't hold back in expressing her true feelings. While most players stick to a professional script post-trade, Smith chose a far less conventional route. Instead of a courteous thank you or an understated farewell, she unleashed a parting barb that left fans and pundits in shock. Her message wasn't merely a goodbye, it was a pointed critique of how she believed the Fever had mistreated her. Excited to play for an organization that believes in me? That single line set the internet ablaze. The underlying message was clear. Smith felt that Indiana had abandoned her, leaving her undervalued, overlooked, and sidelined. But is her grievance justified, or is it just a case of a player falling short of expectations? While Smith was busy airing her frustrations, the Fever were making strategic moves, signaling they were no longer willing to wait for untapped potential to translate into performance. Enter Sophie Cunningham, a talent whose arrival in Indiana might just be the franchise's most promising turn in years.
Now, Sophie Cunningham is a good player. She can shoot the three. She can 3-and-D it. She's pretty good on defense. She's fast. I think the Fever are looking for like the fast pace. I think bringing Sophie over is definitely going to spread the floor a lot more.
Before diving into Cunningham's impact, let's break down exactly why NaLyssa Smith's chapter with the Fever came to a close. Drafted as the second overall pick in the 2022 WNBA draft, Smith was heralded by Indiana as a cornerstone, a player around whom they could build for the long haul. For a while, it truly seemed like they'd struck gold. In her rookie campaign, Smith showcased moments of brilliance, averaging 13 points and 8 rebounds per game, which proved she could hold her own among the league's elite. The raw potential was undeniable. The issue, however, was that those bright flashes never evolved into consistent performance. By the 2024 season, Smith had not blossomed into the player Indiana had envisioned. Her scoring dropped, rebounding numbers declined, and, most notably, her overall impact on the game began to wane. What was once a promising young star gradually transformed into a player who appeared lost on the court. Mistakes accumulated, defensive lapses became routine, her shot selection faltered, and in those critical clutch moments, she was more often on the sidelines than making a decisive impact. For a team determined to rebuild its winning culture, Smith no longer fit the puzzle. While she saw herself as a foundational piece, the Fever were shifting gears, seeking players capable of thriving in a fast-paced, high-energy system. Despite her talent, she simply didn't align with that vision. It wasn't a question of if she would be moved, it was merely a matter of when. When the trade finally went through, sending Smith to Dallas and ushering in Sophie Cunningham to Indiana, it was clear that the Fever weren't just pursuing a fresh start. They were making a bold statement. Smith's reaction was immediate and unmistakable. Within minutes of the trade announcement, she scrubbed every reference to the Indiana Fever from her social media, revamped her Instagram bio, and delivered a pointed dig at her former team. reactions among fans were mixed. Some still believed in her untapped potential and felt that Indiana had given up on her too early, while others welcomed the change, arguing that she wasn't the fit the team needed. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. NaLyssa is still young and talented, and in the right system, she could well rediscover her form. However, Indiana simply didn't have the luxury of waiting. The Fever aren't in it for the long game anymore. They're all about winning now. And that's precisely why the arrival of Sophie Cunningham is such a significant development.
As well, so in the same day as they get Natasha Howard, they get Sophie Cunningham, possibly adding 2 starters, while also bringing Kelsey Mitchell back, and in year 2 of Caitlin Clark. So the Fever are title contenders right now.
Sophie Cunningham brings a crucial element the Fever have been lacking. A relentless, no-nonsense, high-energy force who not only plays the game, but transforms a team's culture. Her ability to knock down 3-pointers instantly makes her a valuable asset, yet her influence goes well beyond the box score. She's gritty, fiery, and knows exactly how to get under opponents' skin. And most importantly, she's a proven winner. This is precisely the kind of cornerstone you build a championship team around. And that's exactly why Indiana made this trade. For Caitlin Clark, this move could be transformative. Cunningham is the teammate who will always have her back, consistently sinking big shots, locking down tough defense, and infusing the team with a much-needed competitive edge. When you have a generational talent like Caitlin, you don't have the luxury of waiting around for other players to step up. You surround her immediately with the right pieces. That's exactly what this trade achieves. Cunningham fits perfectly into the modern WNBA, versatile enough to play multiple positions, stretch the floor with her shooting, and defend the league's top perimeter players. Meanwhile, NaLyssa Smith is still searching for her identity in this league, and that's where the difference lies. The Fever didn't just trade one player for another. They upgraded their mentality, their culture, and their immediate ability to win. The coaching staff recognized that Smith wasn't meshing with their system, and rather than force a fit, they opted to bring in someone who would. It wasn't a question of if, but when. With the pieces falling into place, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and now Sophie Cunningham, the foundation is set for a team that can truly dominate. As for Smith, she's heading to Dallas with something to prove. Will she thrive in a fresh environment, or will her struggles persist? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear, Indiana is done dwelling on the past. They're focused on building a winning future, and with Cunningham in the mix, that future looks significantly brighter. This trade wasn't merely about swapping players, it was a strategic shift designed to redefine the franchise's trajectory, with no intention of looking back. Now that the dust is settled, it's time to examine what this move means for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever's future. This wasn't just a decision to move on from NaLyssa Smith, it was about reconfiguring the team around their emerging franchise star. Caitlin Clark is arguably the most anticipated rookie in WNBA history, and Indiana needed to construct a supporting cast that perfectly complemented her game. And that's precisely where Sophie Cunningham comes in. Caitlin is an elite playmaker, a true floor general capable of scoring from anywhere. To fully unlock her potential, however, she needs teammates who can spread the floor, provide solid defense, and move without the ball. That's where Cunningham seamlessly fits. Let's start with spacing. One of the Fever's biggest concerns this season was ensuring ample room on the floor. Caitlin thrives in an open court, whether she's creating for herself or setting up her teammates. Aaliyah Boston dominates inside, and she needs space in the paint to assert her presence, while Kelsey Mitchell, one of the league's top shooters, benefits immensely when opponents are forced to cover her perimeter threat. The issue with NaLyssa Smith? Her inconsistent outside shooting allowed defenses to sag off, clogging the paint and limiting offensive flow, resulting in fewer driving lanes, less open looks, and more contested shots. Sophie Cunningham immediately remedies that problem. With a career three-point percentage of 38%, defenses have no choice but to respect her shot. They can't afford to leave her open, which forces them to extend their coverage and thereby opens up opportunities for Caitlin to drive, for Boston to work inside, and for Mitchell to get cleaner looks. This is a significant win for Indiana's offensive strategy. Defense is another area where the upgrade is evident. NaLyssa Smith struggled on the defensive end. She wasn't quick enough to switch onto guards, nor was she strong enough to command the paint. In a WNBA that's evolving into a faster, more versatile league, that shortcoming is a liability. Cunningham, on the other hand, offers remarkable defensive versatility. She can switch onto quicker guards and also hold her own against larger wings. Her tenacious physical style of defense wears opponents down, providing Indiana with the edge they desperately need. When building around a superstar like Caitlin Clark, you need teammates who can cover for defensive lapses and shore up weaknesses. While Caitlin is an offensive force, she relies on her team to back her up on the other end. Cunningham delivers that defensive intensity and physicality, bringing an edge that the Fever have been missing. With her on board, Indiana is well on its way to constructing the winning team they've envisioned.
Caitlin Clark, she declined an invitation to participate in a special challenge during NBA All-Star Weekend next month. That's what Shams reported on Wednesday. Now, Clark's representatives, they expressed her desire to have her first three-point contest be at the WNBA All-Star in Indianapolis this summer. Shanae, I'm not mad at it. What do you make of this decision?
Look, I not only respect it, I absolutely wholeheartedly support.
Well, it's official, you guys. Caitlin Clark is not competing in the three-point contest at NBA All-Star.
What happens when the biggest star in women's basketball says no to the NBA? Caitlin Clark, a record-breaking force and trailblazer on the court, just did exactly that. In a move that's sparking controversy and shaking up sports media, Clark turned down an invitation to join the NBA's three-point contest at All-Star Weekend. Rather than stepping into the spotlight as the NBA's special attraction, she's making a bold statement about where true recognition belongs. Stay tuned as we dive into how this decision is flipping the script and what it means for the future of the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark knows how to use the word that many people struggle all their lives being able to use. Some of us never get it till we're old and just don't care no more. The word, take a guess. Take a guess.
Controversy, debate, and, of course, ESPN's outrage. Caitlin Clark, the beacon of the WNBA's future, has just declined an invitation to participate in the NBA's three-point contest at All-Star Weekend.
Well, it has just been confirmed from Shams that Caitlin Clark will not be competing in the NBA three-point contest. Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark will not participate in the NBA All-Star Special three-point shootout in San Francisco and wants her first three-point contest to be at WNBA All-Star in Indianapolis this summer. Her representatives at Excel Sports.
Rather than celebrating her choice, the sports media exploded into chaos. Some argue she's simply dodging the competition, while others believe she's boldly championing the WNBA. So what's the true story behind her decision, and why is ESPN so incensed? Stick around because we're unpacking every detail right now. All right, let's jump in. The Caitlin Clark saga has been dominating headlines nonstop. In case you haven't caught wind of it, Caitlin Clark, the undeniable superstar of women's basketball, recently declined an invitation to compete in the NBA's three-point contest during this year's All-Star Weekend. And wow, opinions are flying everywhere. From ESPN to NBA fans and WNBA supporters, everyone is weighing in as the debate continues to heat up.
The momentum that Caitlin Clark has this season, with her being close to being the face of basketball, both men's and women's this year, I just thought it was the perfect stage. And then obviously, the possibility of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson teaming up once again back in Golden State and doing that home reunion thing, and then having Sabrina and Caitlin. To me, it just sounded like so much fun, and it would definitely bring a little spark to NBA All-Star that NBA All-Star unfortunately hasn't.
Let's be honest, Caitlin Clark is the biggest name in women's basketball right now. She's more than just a player. She's a phenomenon. Every time she steps onto the court, she shatters records, fills arenas, and pulls in huge TV audiences. So when she decided to pass on the NBA's invitation, it wasn't just a scheduling conflict, it was a powerful statement, one that clearly caught ESPN and many sports analysts off guard. So what prompted her to make this call? Is she intimidated by the competition? Did she miscalculate? Or is she strategically setting the stage for the future, making a power move that still has many scratching their heads?
Is another testament to where she is in the hierarchy of the sports food chain and, the ladder of power and influence. Because Caitlin Clark is Steph Curry and LeBron James. Like, she's, there's no difference. A great philosopher once said there's levels to this. She's on that.
Here's the reality about Caitlin Clark. She knows exactly what she's worth. She's not just some player thrilled to get an invite to a high-profile event. She understands that wherever she goes, the cameras roll, the money flows, and the fans rally. So when the opportunity to participate in an NBA event came along, she didn't jump at it like a rookie trying to prove herself. Instead, she made it clear, "Thanks, but I'll pass. I'll host my first three-point contest on my own terms, in my own league."
You see Caitlin Clark using her power to benefit the WNBA, saying, not that she'd never do anything with the NBA, but that she's not going to do it this time because the first time should be with the WNBA in front of the Fever fans.
And that's exactly what's setting off a firestorm of reactions. For years, women's basketball players have been fighting tooth and nail for recognition, respect, and financial support. The WNBA has long been cast in the shadow of the NBA, and whenever a female athlete earns a smidgen of mainstream acclaim, there's this lingering expectation that she should be grateful for even the smallest scraps of attention from the men's league. But Caitlin Clark isn't subscribing to that narrative, she's rewriting it. She made it abundantly clear that she wants her inaugural three-point contest to take place at the WNBA All-Star Game, right in front of her hometown fans in Indiana. And let's be real, that's a savvy move. Why settle for being the NBA's special guest when she can be the headliner of her own show? Why help prop up the NBA's All-Star Weekend ratings when she can shine the spotlight on the WNBA instead? Of course, not everyone is on board with her decision. The moment she turned down the offer, sports analysts went into overdrive. ESPN pundits began to debate whether she was making a grave error, questioning her judgment, while the usual skeptics claimed she was merely dodging competition. Dodging competition? Come on, Caitlin Clark has never shied away from a challenge. She's been demolishing defenses and shattering records her entire career. If she really wanted to join the NBA's three-point contest, she'd be more than capable of holding her own. But that's precisely the point. She refused because she knows her worth, and she refuses to let others call the shots for her. Stephen A. Smith, as per usual, had a lot to say on the matter. For once, he actually backed Clark's decision, though not without throwing in some of his trademark commentary. He noted that last year's WNBA All-Star Game smashed records by drawing in 3.4 million viewers, while the NBA's All-Star Game struggled to hit numbers anywhere near its former glory. The NBA's All-Star Weekend has been losing its luster, no secret there, and it's obvious they were banking on Caitlin Clark to give them a ratings boost. Let's break that down for a moment. The NBA isn't exactly at its prime during All-Star Weekend. The dunk contest has lost its charm, and even the All-Star game itself is treated more like a casual exhibition than a true contest. Viewership has been on a steady decline, and the overall energy just isn't what it used to be. So when Caitlin Clark enters the picture, a player who's been single-handedly driving TV ratings through the roof and filling arenas, it's clear the NBA saw a golden opportunity. And frankly, from their standpoint, it made total sense. Imagine the buzz. Caitlin Clark going head-to-head with the NBA's best in a three-point contest. The intrigue alone would pull in millions of viewers. But that's exactly why she declined. She recognized that she was being positioned merely as a ratings tool, and she wasn't about to let that happen. Let's not kid ourselves. If she had accepted, the aftermath would have been just as contentious, albeit for different reasons. A win might have been dismissed as merely a shooting contest, not genuine competition. A loss would have fueled claims that the WNBA just can't compare to the NBA. There was no scenario in which she could emerge unscathed in that setup. Instead, she delivered a bold message. The WNBA matters. She's not a novelty act or a side attraction for the NBA's All-Star Weekend. She's the star of her own league. This move might just be one of the most significant power plays we've seen from a women's basketball player in a long time. It's not about avoiding one contest. It's about transforming the narrative around the WNBA. For too long, critics have argued that women's sports depend on the men's leagues to survive, that without the NBA's support, the WNBA couldn't flourish. But Caitlin Clark is proving that theory wrong. She's driving ticket sales, setting new records, and making women's basketball a must-watch spectacle all on its own. Consider this. Just last year, the WNBA saw a surge in both viewership and merchandise sales. The Indiana Fever, the team Clark plays for, accounted for nearly half of the league's entire broadcast value. Half. That's a staggering figure, and it's all thanks to her influence. She's demonstrating that the WNBA doesn't need to rely on the NBA's leftovers to thrive. It can stand tall with its own stars, its own storylines, and its own dedicated fan base. That's why this decision is so monumental. She's setting a new standard. She's telling the next generation of female athletes, you don't have to latch onto the men's league for validation. You can be the main event in your own right. And the impact is already evident. What began as a decision over a three-point contest has blossomed into a full-blown conversation about the future of women's basketball. That's the magnitude of her influence. So yes, ESPN might be seething, the NBA might feel let down, and some fans might be left scratching their heads. But Caitlin Clark is in complete control of her narrative. She's playing the long game, building something far bigger than a single contest. And honestly, you have to respect that.
Or as alive, but there has been a confirmation. There has been, well, as good as a confirmation from the draft. And it's unfortunate they leaked the expansion draft, or at least leaked part of the expansion draft.
As the new franchise made its much-anticipated entrance, speculation soared about how the Valkyries would build their inaugural roster. Naturally, Caitlin Clark became a focal point in these discussions, celebrated for her exceptional scoring prowess, long-range three-point shooting, and strong leadership on the court. Caitlin has emerged as one of the brightest stars in women's basketball today. The potential addition of her talents to the Valkyries has generated tremendous buzz and anticipation among enthusiasts and analysts alike.
All right, there we go. We have our first 4 names of the reveal, and there they are. And just in case you didn't pick up on it, these names are being announced in alphabetical order from the teams of the W, so there's no ranking here in terms of who's most important. Your first thought?
In case you missed it, these selections are being announced in alphabetical order based on the teams, so there's no ranking in terms of importance. At first glance, you might assume Caitlin Clark would be among them, but when the draft results were revealed, an unexpected twist occurred. The Valkyries chose not to draft Caitlin Clark. This surprising decision left both fans and analysts stunned, igniting debates across social media platforms and sports broadcasts. The Golden State Valkyries' participation in the expansion draft marked a pivotal moment for the WNBA. It's a rare opportunity for a new team to build its roster from the ground up, and anticipation was high as fans watched to see their selections. While many anticipated bold moves, the decision to bypass Caitlin Clark, widely regarded as one of the league's brightest stars, created a wave of controversy and confusion within the basketball community.
As for the names on the back of the jerseys, we do have 4 more names that are about to be revealed in just a moment, but we do want to do a little table set of the Valkyries' notable games during what will be their inaugural season. They'll open the season in the Chase Center against the Sparks in a battle for Cali, some other marquee matchups as well. Defending champ Liberty May 27th, and they've got the Aces and Fever.
Her standout performance at Iowa made her a household name, and her seamless transition to the WNBA only heightened her impact. As a high-volume scorer and talented playmaker, she possesses the unique ability to draw crowds and secure victories. So, why did the Valkyries pass on drafting her when they had the opportunity? The reason stems from a combination of strategic planning, roster-building priorities, and the complexities of managing star talent within a newly established team. She is more than just a prolific scorer. She is a transformative player. Her knack for sinking three-pointers from seemingly unreachable distances and her exceptional court vision make her an invaluable asset. Additionally, she exemplifies leadership both on and off the court, frequently taking control during pivotal moments of the game. Any team would be fortunate to acquire her talents, or so it appears. However, constructing a new franchise goes beyond assembling star players. It involves ensuring the right fit, fostering chemistry, and implementing long-term strategies. This vision necessitated selecting players who could offer versatility and balance to their roster. Opting to draft a superstar like Caitlin Clark might have seemed like a straightforward way to make headlines, but it could have interfered with the delicate task of forming a unified and cohesive team structure. A prime example of the Valkyries' strategic selection is Temi Fagbenle. As an experienced center, Fagbenle brings defensive strength and leadership qualities that are crucial for any team seeking to establish its identity. However, her selection sparked surprise because it meant that Caitlin Clark remained with the Indiana Fever. Speculation among fans suggested that Fagbenle's departure from the Fever was closely linked to Clark's increasing influence within the team. Her on-court presence attracts media coverage, drives merchandise sales, and energizes fan communities. For the Indiana Fever, she serves as a cornerstone in their rebuilding efforts. Conversely, for the Valkyries, acquiring a player of her caliber might have introduced significant challenges. Effectively managing a star athlete requires substantial resources, both financially and in terms of team dynamics. Clark's playing style necessitates that the team's offense is centered around her. She thrives as a high-usage player who relies on having the ball in her hands. While this strategy can be effective for established teams with well-defined systems, it poses risks for a new franchise striving to find its balance. The Valkyries likely aimed to prevent their entire identity from hinging on a single player, regardless of her talent. Instead, their focus was probably on assembling a more balanced roster, capable of evolving into a cohesive unit that can compete comprehensively without depending excessively on any one individual.
From the Atlanta Dream, the Golden State Valkyries select center Ileana Rupert.
Another layer to this decision is the Valkyries' emphasis on defense and versatility. Players like Fagbenle, Alana R., and Monique Billings offer flexibility across multiple positions, enabling the team to adjust to various matchups. While drafting Clark might have been tempting, it could have constrained their ability to build a well-rounded roster. Under the expansion draft rules, teams had the option to protect certain players. Unsurprisingly, the Fever chose to safeguard Caitlin Clark, effectively removing her from the Valkyries' selection pool. This move came at a price, leaving players like Vag Bentley unprotected. For the Fever, this was a strategic gamble. They prioritized securing their star player, understanding that losing other valuable role players might be an unavoidable consequence. Protecting Clark underscores her significance to the Fever's future. She's not merely a player, but the cornerstone of their franchise. Losing her would have severely hampered their rebuilding efforts. Nevertheless, some fans believe that leaving Vag Bentley unprotected was a misstep, as she is a dependable contributor who brings both experience and grit to the team. By passing on high-profile players like Caitlin Clark, they signaled their commitment to constructing a team based on depth, teamwork, and strategic foresight. This method may not create immediate headlines, but it lays the groundwork for long-term success. Naturally, not everyone concurs with this strategy. Critics argue that the Valkyries forfeited an opportunity to secure a generational talent. Caitlin Clark's ability to attract fans and elevate her teammates makes her a rare asset in the WNBA. Opting out of drafting her could be viewed as a risky move, especially for a new team aiming to establish itself in a competitive environment. However, there's a valid argument supporting the Valkyries' choice. Building a successful franchise requires time and meticulous planning. While star players like Caitlin Clark can transform a team, they also introduce complexities both on and off the court. For the Valkyries, the expansion draft was about more than just acquiring talent. It was about establishing a foundation for a team capable of competing at the highest levels. As the Valkyries gear up for their inaugural season, all eyes will be on their roster decisions. Will their strategic approach yield positive results, or will they rue the decision to pass on players like Caitlin Clark? The outcome may not be immediate, but one thing is clear: this decision will be closely examined. Understanding the Valkyries' choice to forgo Caitlin Clark requires looking at the broader context. How will this impact the future of the Valkyries and Caitlin Clark's role with the Indiana Fever? Launching a new franchise carries the inherent pressure to make a significant impact quickly. Acquiring a player like Caitlin Clark would undoubtedly generate headlines and draw fans to the arena. However, a franchise's success isn't solely determined by hype. It's about winning games and cultivating a sustainable culture. The Valkyries appear to have prioritized balance over star power. A key aspect of this decision revolves around Caitlin Clark's compatibility with a new system. Clark is renowned for her dynamic, high-energy playing style. She's a high-usage player who excels in systems designed to highlight her individual talents. However, for a nascent team like the Valkyries, selecting a player of Clark's magnitude could result in a lopsided roster. The team might feel compelled to build entirely around her, potentially compromising depth and versatility. Historically, teams that secure elite talent early on often set themselves up for sustained success. Clark's ability to draw double teams, stretch defenses, and control the game's tempo makes her a generational talent. By passing on her, the Valkyries are essentially betting on their ability to discover comparable talent in the future, a gamble that may or may not pay off.
Bleacher Report posted a quote that said, "I played my last game in Dallas." Did you really say that?
I know. I'm sad about it though. I like the fans, I'm a fan, but
That's it. That's it. It's time to move on.
After weeks of intense speculation, Satou Sabally has finally addressed her free agency status, unveiling a series of unexpected developments and bold decisions that could redefine her WNBA career. What's driving this intriguing move? Let's uncover the story behind her fascinating choice.
Of moving with a potentially different shoe brand, but also the decision to change teams. Yeah, so I'll be a free agent this year, and oh my god, I feel like this is just super exciting. So
in a highly anticipated live stream, Satou Sabally finally shared news that has fans buzzing with excitement and speculation. Displaying her trademark grace and composure, Sabally announced that she had officially played her final game with the Dallas Wings, marking the end of her chapter with the team.
what team am I going to, Taylor?
I don't want to say no names. Hey, I just want to say.
Don't say anything. That's
I
what
don't say no names. No, because generally we don't know yet. We don't know yet, but.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Just know wherever Satou ends up at, ring incoming. Ring incoming.
In a highly anticipated live stream, Satou Sabally delivered news that has fans buzzing with excitement and speculation. With her characteristic grace and poise, Sabally announced that she had officially played her final game with the Dallas Wings, signaling the conclusion of her journey with the team. We got Satou Sabally trending on X. Come to the Fever. We got the motion. Satou's star power, plus her German flair, plus Caitlin Clark connections equals untold endorsement wealth. So the Dallas Wings have lost Satou Sabally. Well, she's gone. Sabally's announcement was clear, yet rich with underlying meaning, particularly when she addressed the rampant speculation about her next destination. While many assumed she was headed to the Chicago Sky, Sabally clarified the situation unequivocally. She had reportedly declined the opportunity to join Chicago.
Unrestricted free agent, the Chicago Sky do have some of the most cap space in the league this offseason. Should the Chicago Sky target Satou?
100% yes. There's no doubt about it. She's easily, if not number one, on the free market list.
The motivations behind her decision remain unclear, but her opting out of joining the Sky has only heightened the speculation surrounding her future. Since then, rumors have taken off, with one particular storyline especially capturing the interest of both fans and analysts alike.
Let's talk about travel. Let's talk about charter. Let's talk about the WNBA. We would save days. Yes, I hate to make excuses that we're tired, but reducing travel time increases recovery time. It increases this time to be able to eat, sit, be away from light that hinders you from actually getting a good night rest and sleep, scientifically proven.
The chatter indicates that Sabally may be heading to the Indiana Fever, where she could team up with the emerging star Caitlin Clark. This potential alliance has the ingredients of a game-changing synergy, poised to shift the league's power dynamics significantly. Sabally's versatile skill set and sharp court vision, paired with Clark's scoring prowess and relentless tenacity, could elevate the Fever to new heights. This move is sure to unsettle players like Diana Taurasi, Aja Wilson, and Angel Reese, leaving them upset and stressed. And let's not overlook how much Cheryl Swoops disapproves of this possible partnership.
In an unrivaled press interview, she goes to state, "I've already communicated with Dallas how grateful I am because they've made this a home for me for the past years, and I'm working with them together in finding the next home for me because I've already played my last game in Dallas." Wow. So what does this mean? Well, Dallas Wings will undoubtedly court her, which means they're going to be looking for some sort of a sign-and trade.
The potential move for Sabally to the Indiana Fever is intriguing for multiple reasons. Firstly, it would position her as a leader on a team with significant upward momentum. The Fever have been undergoing a rebuilding phase and are demonstrating promising signs, and incorporating a player of Sabally's caliber could expedite their rise. Additionally, teaming up with Clark, a standout who has garnered national attention for her stellar performances, could form a powerful backcourt that opponents would find daunting. Although Sabally has not yet confirmed or dismissed these rumors, the anticipation surrounding the possibility is intense. Fans are closely monitoring her every action, analyzing each statement and gesture for hints about her next career move.
I'll add something to that too. When I was driving to the game today, obviously it's annoying because there were way too many Caitlyn fans, and but it just kudos because it's amazing to see so many people in women's basketball jerseys. It's amazing to see the excitement and the joy that comes out of that. So although I feel like our Dallas fans could have done better, I had mixed feelings, obviously, seeing all the Caitlyn jerseys in our home, but it's an amazing sign for women's basketball.
Despite the swirling rumors, one thing remains clear. Satou Sabally's next move will be one of the WNBA offseason's most highly anticipated decisions. Sabally's influence and presence are sure to make a significant impact in the league. Whether she chooses to join Caitlin Clark in Indiana or takes a different path, we can only watch and wait as this exciting chapter of her career unfolds. In a sports world often riddled with competition and envy, Satou Sabally has distinguished herself as a trailblazer, not only through her exceptional gameplay, but also through her unique perspective. When Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise captured the attention of basketball fans nationwide, not everyone was pleased. Satou Sabally's decision to openly support Caitlin Clark was both refreshing and unexpected. At a time when many were focused on comparing statistics or lamenting their own lack of similar recognition, Sabally saw the bigger picture. She understood that Clark's impact on the sport went beyond individual accolades, contributing to the elevation of women's basketball as a whole. Instead of giving in to underlying jealousy, Sabally expressed her gratitude for what Clark brought to the game, a surge of energy, visibility, and enthusiasm that women's basketball desperately needed.
Apparently, there's a WNBA player named Asia Wilson. Apparently, she's pretty good. Caitlin Clark brings it down, goes twice between her legs, step back jack. Asia Wilson doesn't like that. Asia Wilson isn't smart enough to understand that everybody's going to get fat because of Caitlin Clark. Everybody won't get fat if they keep bringing up the ridiculous, idiotic, and tired old notion of racism.
Asia Wilson has ignited a blazing storm of drama, challenging Caitlin Clark in a manner that's capturing everyone's attention. Is this the fiercest rivalry in WNBA history? Asia Wilson, a three-time WNBA MVP, has been unstoppable on the court with astonishing stats and consecutive outstanding seasons. She's undeniably one of the league's greatest athletes. However, Asia isn't just letting her performance speak for itself. She's making her presence felt loudly and clearly off the court as well.
Asia Wilson, who bitch-whined and moaned and continues to bitch-whine and moan that Caitlin Clark is only popular because she's white, couldn't be more.
In a recent intense interview, Asia Wilson made some significant statements that are stirring up the basketball community. She didn't just challenge Caitlin Clark. She alluded to a more profound issue that's been simmering beneath the surface for some time. Caitlin Clark, the emerging star and generational talent, has dominated both college basketball and the WNBA spotlight. With her electrifying performances and bold attitude, she's become the center of attention. However, Asia isn't on board with this. Why is Caitlin Clark receiving all the attention? My achievements last season alone surpass her entire career. And if that wasn't enough, Asia went a step further by claiming that the primary reason Caitlin garners so much hype is because she's white.
Hey, look, we love Steph Curry as a black man because of how he plays. We don't give two craps about Steph Curry or Caitlin Clark being white, black, green, or purple. When in doubt, yell racism, and when in doubt, look stupid doing it. And the latest is this moron named Asia Wilson.
Asia Wilson has ignited a full-scale drama, publicly challenging Caitlin Clark in a way that's sparking widespread conversations. Could this be the most intense feud in WNBA history? Asia Wilson, a three-time WNBA MVP, has been unstoppable on the court with impressive statistics and back-to-back stellar seasons. She's unquestionably one of the league's premier athletes. However, A'ja isn't just letting her on-court prowess speak for itself. She's making her stance known loudly and clearly off the court as well. A'ja didn't stop with Caitlin Clark. She also brought Paige Buchers into the conversation, with Paige set to join the WNBA soon. A'ja is already asserting that she's not getting the spotlight she deserves because she is a black woman. Her frustration seems to stem from feeling overlooked, questioning why her MVP seasons, record-breaking performances, and championships aren't making her the face of the league. But here's where things get wild. A'ja suggested that Caitlin Clark should face a lifetime ban for what she described as a lack of respect for the game and its pioneers. What does that even mean? The internet exploded. Fans are taking sides, with some agreeing that race plays a role in media narratives, while others believe A'ja is going too far. Here's what she had to say. I think it's a huge thing. A lot of people may say it's not about black or white, but to me, it is. It really is, because you can be top-notch at what you are as a black woman, but yet that's something that people don't want to see. They don't see it as marketable, so it doesn't matter how hard I work. It doesn't matter what we do as black women. We're still going to get swept underneath the rug. That's why it boils my blood when people say it's not about race, because it really is. Players like Breanna Stewart and Diana Taurasi have reportedly weighed in. A'ja Wilson is the queen of the WNBA, but Caitlin Clark is box office. The debate over A'ja Wilson and Caitlin Clark isn't just about stats or accolades. It's about what defines greatness in the WNBA and who deserves the spotlight. Is this frustration rooted in jealousy and an inability to accept that Caitlin Clark has changed the game in ways A'ja never has? A'ja Wilson plays for the Las Vegas Aces, a team so stacked with talent that they could probably win games with half the roster. Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, and Jackie Young are not just supporting players. They're stars in their own right. With teammates like these, A'ja has the luxury of playing in a system that allows her to excel without carrying the entire load. In fact, if we're being honest, Kelsey Plum deserves more credit than she gets. Her playmaking, scoring, and ability to take over games make life significantly easier for A'ja. If Kelsey wasn't there to pick up the slack, would A'ja still be an MVP? That's debatable. It's worth noting that MVP stands for Most Valuable Player, not Best Player on a stacked team. Without Kelsey, A'ja's numbers and impact would likely shrink. So when A'ja claims she's the league's most valuable player, one has to wonder, valuable to whom? The Aces could probably still dominate without her, but the same cannot be said for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. While A'ja thrives in the league, Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA as the savior of a struggling franchise. The Indiana Fever had been floundering for years, a team barely making headlines and far from playoff contention. Then Caitlin arrived. In just 8 months, she turned a forgettable team into a playoff contender. Her presence forced her teammates to elevate their game, and her leadership has been nothing short of transformative. Unlike A'ja, Caitlin doesn't have the luxury of multiple all-stars sharing the load. She's the sole centerpiece, carrying the team on her back while navigating the immense pressure of being a rookie in the spotlight. A'ja might want to criticize Caitlin's recognition, but she hasn't faced the kind of uphill battle that Caitlin has in her first season. One of A'ja's loudest complaints is about the awards Caitlin has received. While A'ja is proud of her MVP title, it's clear that Caitlin's recognition as WNBA Player of the Year and Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year has struck a nerve. These accolades highlight Caitlin's unparalleled contributions to the game, both on and off the court. Here's the difference. A'ja's MVP is tied to team success. Caitlin's awards recognize her individual brilliance and the broader impact she's had on the league. The MVP award is often debated, but Player of the Year and Athlete of the Year make one thing clear. Caitlyn's influence transcends basketball. She's not just a great player, she's a cultural phenomenon.